Welcome to the RJLT Economics. Today I want to talk about the application of AI in business in the coming years and decades. I'm certainly not an expert in AI itself, but I've tried a couple of algorithms to know a little bit about AI and its quirks, some of its quirks, not all of it. So I think since I also think about businesses all the time and economics, I think there are some opinions that I want to express and I want to share with my listeners. I want to make 2 points in this recording, and I try to make it brief. The first point I want to make is that the GPT type of AI, which has garnered so much interest from laymen, it has its limits. It's good for some certain things, but it's actually not what I think is groundbreaking. But the second point I want to make is that the truly groundbreaking AI is one that can learn pretty much like a human. Let me explain. So first, let's talk about the GPT type of AI. Now, this type of AI, what it does, my understanding is that it takes a couple of tokens, a series of tokens, and it predicts the next word. So it's an AI that actually predicts the word after word after word to make a response. It's always doing this sort of predictions, and I think it's very good for the consumer environment. It's very good for entertainment, and for a lot of people, for a lot of businesses, there are a lot of opportunities in this field. You can have, just as the name ChatGPT suggests, you can make a bot that can talk with people. You can make a toy that can talk to people, and we know that there are a lot of these virtual assistants already on the market now that do these sort of things. The GPT type of AI is superb for this. They can be you can make. I think I saw a video. I watched a video, a film. It's probably called Megan. That was released in the last couple of years, and in this film, the lead, basically, she invented a toy, an AI toy that is called Megan, and Megan was so good at learning that it became. It got. You can watch that film if you're interested, but basically it got out of hand, let's just say. But the GPT type of AI would be great for a toy, but it will not be able to. I don't think it will be able to do what that film portrays, because this type of AI has its limits. Now, it's limited by 2 things, right? One is its training data, because for it to give a good response, it actually needs to have saw it somewhere. And the second problem is hallucination. Basically, it can predict, it can make things up that was not in its training data. But when it makes it up, and when it acts so confident, when it makes things up, it can actually mislead the user, into thinking that the AI is providing factual information, even though it's not. So the GPT type of AI is not good for mission critical tasks, right? Actually, for when you really want to get some information from information retrieval, I think you don't need an AI as complex not complex, but as heavy as this GPT type of AIs. But what you need is a database that has all the information already in it, which basically is the training data for GPT, right? So what that AI does would be to understand your question and then search from the database the result, and then interprets that result and express it to you in layman's terms or whatever, right? So that is more like a a more advanced version of a search engine. That's basically what it is. And I think, I don't know for certain, but I think companies like Google and Bing, Microsoft, they have this type of capabilities. But obviously they are not doing it, they're not using it for all the consumers who basically pay nothing to use their services, because the running cost for that type of system could be a little bit higher. And more importantly, if they actually do that and offer it to their consumers, they will get into a lot of trouble, legal trouble for one, and financial trouble for the other. Legal trouble because there will no longer be an indexing search engine, but instead they will be basically providing information directly and completely cutting the traffic, internet traffic out of the individual sites from which they have sourced the information. This will be, I think, this would lead to perhaps immediate problem with antitrust, and they will have to cease operation, I think. Secondly, the other thing is that they make money by having people clicking on a lot of things, a lot of links that are basically adverts. But if they provide the good information directly to their users, then those users will not be clicking on ads, and they won't be making any money. So there will be higher cost, some risk, a lot of risk, very realistic and existential risk for their operations, and they're not going to make any money. So that's why they're not doing it. But I think that is a capability that exists. I think it should exist because certainly, number one, they have indexed more sites, I think, than the training data for GPT. And secondly, they have, this will be an algorithm that is much simpler to implement. So that's the first part of my comment, which is that the GPT type of AI, yes, it has garnered a lot of attention from laymen, from the media, but I don't think it's really that groundbreaking. It's not that useful. It's just mostly good for toys and entertainment. But at the same time, it can now also be used as a tool, just for a lot of people doing research, a lot of people doing programming. But just know that the information that the AI provides is not necessarily correct. They could be hallucinating. So that's number one. The second point I want to make is that what's really interesting is to have an AI that can learn pretty much like a human. Now, what do I mean by AI that can learn? What I mean is that we have an AI that is not specifically developed as a self-driving, for example, for car, not a self-driving AI, but actually an AI that can learn how to drive pretty much like a human does learn how to drive. And it will become a better driver over time on the road. So that's basically the AI that I think will be truly groundbreaking. And this AI could eventually be used for all, if perhaps not all, but most mission critical tasks. And this is the type of AI that's groundbreaking, but at the same time, it can be displacing a lot of the workforce. So there is this distinction that needs to be made. I think that the GPT type of AI is perhaps sufficient for journalism, I guess. Or maybe it's not so much for journalism, but I think it's probably, with today's standards, it's good enough for journalism, perhaps even better, because these AIs could be, they can be trained to be objective, or perhaps not leaning in either direction. I think this type of AI would be good for finance and consulting, this type of services, because people are good at making things up in those industries, anyways. So perhaps with a GPT type of AI, you can actually come up with highly embellished presentations, PowerPoint presentations, videos, etc. that are actually closer to the truth than what a lot of the analysts would produce. Now, what is needed for this? What applications that need what I refer to as this groundbreaking type of AI are those in the industries, in production lines, in transportation, and in aerospace, and perhaps even in scientific research. This type of AI, what is needed is actually not necessarily. So it's a type of AI, I think, that is an extension, or perhaps at the next stage of these, what they call reinforcement learning. Right? Reinforcement learning basically is you have a mechanism that allows the AI to continue to learn as it is being used. That's reinforcement learning. But with this groundbreaking type of AI, it not only learns by being used, basically as it learns, but also the reward mechanisms, how the reinforcement learning process is being done, is also being constantly updated. So it's like if we think about the GPT type of AI as a simple 1 degree of AI, and reinforcement learning can be 2 second degree learning, and this will be a 3rd degree learning. So it needs to not just learn from experience, but also needs to learn how to learn from experience, and it needs to have the ability to. The reason that it needs to learn how to learn is so that it can recognize that sometimes the results that it's actually getting is not good enough, so that it adjusts the way that it learns in order to get a better result. I think this will be slightly closer, not slightly, but very much closer to how humans learn. I think obviously this would entail a lot of engineering complexity. I'm certainly not one to suggest that I am anywhere close to being able to do it, but I think that's where the interest will come. And if someone comes up with at scale, maybe not very large scale, but at a decent scale, a model that can do this, this can be very, very, it's revolutionary, I think. It's obviously at that point, we need to talk about communism, because most of the people, most of the workforce today will be displaced by this type of AI. So the humans needs to be supported, their livelihoods need to be provided, and there also needs to be a system, a social system, to make sure that they still have things to do. They're not just sitting around every day having nothing to do, because then you develop social problems, right? People who live on handouts all the time. So that requires a new type of social contract. But I think that day is inevitable. I think sometime in the future, maybe it's not inevitable, but either humans self-destruct, perhaps via World War III or a nuclear holocaust, or humans develop this type of AI that can work. And this type of AI will actually be displacing most of the workforce, and humans need to have a different way to arrange the society. The capitalist system would collapse, and if it's led to sustain in that type of economy, because when you have massive unemployment, you really need the capitalist system cannot function. But if you have a system that provides for the people, everyone's living standards can be higher. Indeed, it is possible with very good AI and a very good system for every single person to live like a billionaire does today, with great healthcare provided on time for free by AI machines, and for everyone to be able to travel in some type of private plane, not necessarily jet, because at that point perhaps we won't be flying with fossil fuels. And everyone will have their own large house with good air, good water, and things of that nature. So there's a lot to look forward to. I think people who are too alarmist about the development of AI, they don't have to. I think the most dangerous species that the Earth has ever seen is humans, Homo sapiens. I think that an AI that, even though the AI could be initially created by humans, will be less dangerous if it is really intellectual than humans. I think a lot of the fears that the alarmists have is that the AI that humans create will be so much like humans that they will realize that the humans are like the dodo birds that needs to be that can be made extinct, perhaps not negatively impacting their own livelihoods. But I think a better AI will be able to realize that diversity, especially in the ecosystem, is a good thing. So you don't kill all the insects, you don't kill all the animals, you don't kill all the plants simply because you can, but you keep them there to have a diverse world to provide different type of experiences that are quite valuable. I think that's perhaps what's going to happen more likely. So I'm I quite look forward to that day. I hope I live long enough to experience that. And indeed, that is also why I prefer not to work very hard and whatever, because I know that however much money you make today, in today's capitalist system, it's going to be limited by the productivity and technology of today. But in a few years, a few decades time, when the production and human society could be rearranged completely differently, everyone's living standards will be dramatically higher, and everyone's life will be much better. I think that day, I'm hopeful that that day will come. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.